Hello everybody, welcome to Crafty Soup. My name is Misty. I'm back this month with the SCT Sampler Kit unboxing, and if you're new here, I always do a project when I do an unboxing. So you've had the sneak peeks, let's dive into the details. Here is what the kit looks like when it comes in the mail, and as the name implies, it is a sampling of products, so it could be partial packages of embellishments and whatnot, as well as 12 by 12 papers cut down to 6 by 6 size. So this kit is great for any kind of paper crafter, from scrapbooking all the way to bullet journals and so on. The theme word this time around is grateful. Now, the November kits would be more appropriate for the word grateful, but they always do a Christmas theme with their November kits. So they've saved the word grateful for this month, which works out. Now, the kits always come with reusable items, and this time we have two. Normally we would only get one. So we've got a stamp set, Snowflakes from Gina K, and a snowflake stencil from Hero Arts. So that is a fantastic deal. And of course we have our regular embellishment word die that comes in these kits. And then we've got our two manufacturers of products. And so this is all quite typical of what you'll see a kit to look like. So we are starting off with a crate paper line, and I can't quite remember the name of this line, so I will pop it up on the screen for you. We have a partial pack of ephemera, as well as some enamel dots. And then here is our 6 by 6 print papers. Now everything this time around is winter themed, and thus all of those snowflake items. I really like that wood grain piece there, and this one feels very usable to me. I'd totally love to cut it apart and use those little phrases as embellishments. And then some pretty florals. I like the pine cones on that one. And this kit, or this collection rather, brings in some pops of fun, cheery colors. And you'll watch me put those colors to use on the layout when I get to that part of the video. And then next up is the Echo Park, I believe, Echo Park collection. And this one is definitely monochromatic, as you can probably already tell. So we have a partial pack of ephemera pieces, a couple of enamel dots, and then here we go with our pattern papers. I really am liking the navy blues in this collection. And this floral print is particularly pretty, so I'm most likely to use that side. And as I flip through the papers, I do tend to leave them kind of the side facing up. That is my favorite. And that just kind of helps me start thinking these papers over and getting some ideas. And there's some light toned wood grain in that last piece. So let's go ahead and head over to making a project with all of these. I have two Christmas photos from last year. I'm trying to finish off last year's Christmas just in the nick of time before we make it to this year's Christmas. And I've decided, since I have one horizontal and one vertical photo, I'm going to go ahead and go with an L-shaped design. And because these pattern papers are 6 by 6, I am not going to be able to fully mat my photos. So instead, I'm going to use these papers to create strips. So a vertical strip and a horizontal strip. And that will become the foundation of this layout. Now I'm trying to pick and choose patterns of paper, and I'm looking for about 3 for each the vertical and the horizontal strip that have some contrast between them, so that the layers that I'm putting together are a bit distinct. So that first layer up there, I've got that blue floral, and then a red plaid, and then the white wood grain. So that definitely helps pull the contrast out. And then again with the lower patterns, I've got a dark blue, a lighter, brighter with some color pops, and a wood grain. So here's where I'm cutting these into strips, because I'm going to just tuck them under the edges of my photos in order to create these border pieces. So with most of those strips and layers ready to go, I turn to the foundation, and I'm just going to use cardstock for that, since I typically scrapbook 12 by 12. Not always, but typically. And then once I've got a white base and then a blue frame in cardstock, I can start sizing out how the L shape of this design is going to go. And there you go. You can see that I've got those floral pieces that are going to create that long, tall arm of the L. I'm not sure what that side of the L is called. And then I am starting to go in the horizontal direction with the base of this L. And then it turns out I'm going to offset that base just a little bit, so it's not going to be a complete L shape, but that horizontal piece will shift to the left just a bit. But here I am deciding which layers should go where, and I kind of changed up what I thought I had going on in the beginning, but that's okay, that happens in the process. And then I'm getting these strips adhered down to the back of my photo, and I am going to let that colorful star print shine because I am going to use that color more on this layout, and we'll get to that part. Now, I decided I did want this wood grain to go a full border, but because it's 6x6 paper, you're not going to get a full border out of that, especially since I had started cutting the paper down already. So I am going to really kind of do some magic with all of these little pieces that I have left over and just kind of piece all of these together. This works out okay because it's a fairly solid print and you're not going to see a lot of the gaps where I'm piecing these things together. It would be a little bit harder to accomplish with a repetitive pattern, but I made it work and I got the border that I wanted. And I'm ready to move on to more color. And so with that stencil, I'm going to pick up on the colors in that star print. So I've got some red, some pink, some blue, and some teal. And I am going to set to work stenciling. I am going to make sure I tape off some edges so I don't go over the stencil. And I'm also going to kind of tape off some areas where are going to be covered up anyway with the photo. So that'll remind me not to go past that mark. So we've got the red and the pink and the yellow and the teal. And then that corner is done. I am just stenciling the corner. And when I try out my matted paper back in there, I decide if it's good enough, and it is. And I did go ahead and stick that down, and I started to stick down the other part, and I remembered I have not finished stenciling. So I finished stenciling that corner, and I did need to expand that stenciling just a little bit on the top and the bottom edges because my photo block will overlap that a little bit. And then I'm going to extend that vertical strip down. And because this pattern paper is a pattern, I am trying to line up these pieces so it doesn't look awkward. I don't have like half a flower butted up against another edge. And so I just find a place in the pattern where I can break it and realign it. And that worked out fine. And I didn't need that extra strip because the bottom of my L shape covers it all up anyway. And then I realized I wanted the edges of my photos to be aligned for my L. And that is why my total mat kind of offsets to the left a little bit. But in general, it is still an L-shaped layout design. And I need to go grab some letters from my stash to create my title because these kits don't usually come with alphabets. We've had a couple here and there, but I found a wood grain alpha and a yellow alpha, and that fits with the wood grain papers I chose and the yellow shirt in this photo. And so I put that on more of the white wood grain paper from the Echo Park collection and made it into a little banner. Going to pop it up on foam dots to give it some more depth and dimension. Mostly I needed to get those letters off of that pattern paper background because they were getting lost in all of the pattern. So I am creating clusters of embellishments next, and I'm going to just keep those in line with the stenciling that I did. So that is kind of accentuating the top beginning part of the L and the bottom ending part of the L. And it ends up being a little bit of a diagonal if you want to think about it that way. And I am just mixing and matching sizes, shapes, colors, patterns of these embellishments so that I come up with a satisfying cluster of items. And I will go back in a little bit and pick out a couple more things to add to these clusters as they are looking just a little bit sparse. And so that final bit that I needed was some cut-aparts from that phrase pattern paper, which I mentioned earlier. And I found one that said, I think it says December 25th, and one that says around the tree or something along those lines. Perfect for the layout that I have going on today. And that officially finishes off this layout for this time. As we take some close-up looks at this, I want to say that I am always excited to get my kits in the mail because I love how much I can stretch these kits from 6x6 papers into full 12x12 layouts. And so I wonder, all you scrapbookers who are watching, do you use 6x6 papers in your scrapbooking? I'd love to know, so leave me a comment. Coming up on Friday, I will have my Freebie Friday video. And until then, I hope you are watching my crafty Advent adventure. And I will see you really soon. So until then, have an artful day.